Given the tremendous interest, I might give another 2 thereafter.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the supplementary question raised by the member for Tharaka, I would like to respond as follows. That at this point, when investigations are ongoing, we do not have conclusive evidence on who would have shot the deceased. However, if the evidence links an officer of the National Police Service or any other government official in the murder of Mr. Kiraku, 2 things I would like to assure the House. 1, whoever is responsible will be prosecuted. And 2, if the person has died in the hands of our officers, the procedures for compensation will ensue. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the question raised by the Honorable Mbui, I would like to respond as follows. There are no shoot-to-kill orders. On the contrary, all officers in the National Police Service and all security agencies who are involved in managing public protests, demonstrations, and riots, and crowd control are under very strict instructions not to use live bullets when dealing with members of the public. In fact, Honorable Speaker, the reason the OCPD was transferred is because there were very strict orders given by the Inspector General of Police that there should be no live bullets used in crowd control, not just in Chuka, but even in other protests. So we want to give some independence so that we establish when the OCPD is not in office, if indeed it's a police officer who fired that killer bullet against the orders and the policy of this government, then action will be taken. But of course, it could have been any other firearm holder because there are civilians also who are licensed to carry arms and they could take advantage of riots to cause deaths. Honorable Speaker, the third supplementary question was raised by the member for Samburu. And I want to assure the House, through you, Mr. Speaker, that the deaths that have been caused in Samburu and other parts of the country as a result of livestock rustling and banditry are regrettable. 2, we have had an operation going on there, but we continue to experience incidents of bandit attacks from time to time. Honorable Speaker, what has happened is that we have been able to dominate the permanent abodes where we suspected bandits were hiding whenever they steal livestock. And because of international standards on the use of force, that is the only reason we gave 24-hour ultimatum to any members of the civil population who could have been mixed up in these areas by way of being family members to the bandits, etc., to vacate. After that, we have been able to actually remove and dominate those areas and remove the threats that used to exist in those areas. But the spiral, what has happened is that during that window of notice we had given to be able to ensure that we don't have civilian casualties, some of these criminals could have mixed with the population. And because the security forces cannot be everywhere and guard every homestead, they are making sporadic raids, sometimes successful. But Mr. Speaker, we have prevented and thwarted and even recovered livestock numerous times on a daily basis. I am even willing to table within the time that we have had an operation in the north. How many livestock have been stolen in all those counties? How many have been recovered, and where, and how many are outstanding? We have not made full recoveries, and the reason is simple. That as soon as a raid is successful, the criminals divide the livestock into small numbers, 5, 10. So the recovery process is a bit slow, painful, but we've made some significant recoveries. I have evidence as late as yesterday, we have recovered livestock in Laikipia. So, Mr. Speaker, the challenge is still there. We do not want to deny that the challenge does not exist. And Mr. Speaker, this challenge has not started this year, last year, 5 years, 10 years. This is a problem that started as early as 1977 in some parts of these areas. We are doing everything possible to make sure that we have a final end of this problem. It cannot be done in a month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, but we will reach there. It doesn't matter what it takes. We appeal for patience, we appeal for understanding, and we know that we will get around it as soon as we continue this domination of these areas where the bandits retreat when they steal livestock. In fact, Honorable Speaker, we are upscaling the numbers of security agencies we have. We are doubling them on Saturday. And as I've announced, this deployment will not cease with the end of the operation. Whenever the operation will be called off, the security agencies will remain there for as long as Kenya exists, to ensure that this problem does not recur. Because previously we have done an operation, as soon as there is a semblance of tranquility, we recall the security agencies. Honorable Speaker, therefore the supplementary question was raised by the member for Ugunja, the Honorable P.O. Wandai. And I would like to assure the House, through you, Honorable Speaker, that the government has no double standards or does not respond to security threats based on where they happen. In the matters that the Honorable Wandai has raised, in fact, we acted even faster. But there was no question asked for us to report what we have done. So I want to confirm to the House, the Honorable Speaker, that the same measures we have applied in Chuka are the same measures that have applied in this instance. The Internal Affairs Unit, as we speak, is on the ground. The IPOA is also on the ground to provide independent investigations. So there are no double standards, and I think I can comprehensively say I am the minister who has been in most parts of the country, given that I've only served for slightly under 6 months. I've been in almost 70% of Kenya. So there cannot be double standards, and I don't know the last time I was near my home. So if there will be double standards, I'll be accused of not going home, Honorable Speaker, not the other way around. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the fifth one, the fifth supplementary question raised by the Honorable Kamuren, because the one by the Honorable Wandai about live bullets, I've already said the instructions are on the contrary, no live bullets. That's why you have seen, even in the most dramatic protests that we've had recently, we have not had casualties. We've not had deaths. And wherever deaths have occurred, like the Kisumu death and the one death in Kibera, the investigations will help us know whether this was a police gun or a civilian gun, because as I've said, both the police and civilians are licensed holders of firearms. If we establish anybody has violated the rules and the standing orders of the National Police Service, action will be taken. Honorable Speaker, finally, the supplementary question raised by the Honorable Kamren. I've been to Baringo.